Welcome back to Power Profiles. We're profiling Lucky Quinn. With Chicago's long criminal history, it didn't take
Watch Dogs has been hyped as the next great video game franchise. It's been like this for the last couple of years now. It's been eagerly anticipated by tons and tons of gamers around the world, and now the time has come to pass judgment. Does Watch Dogs live up to the hype, or is it just another in a long line of open-world action games? In typical open-world fashion, you take on missions in order to progress the story. Interestingly enough, though, the story is actually linear, and each act is broken down into one mission followed by another. So you don't go see either Cousin Vinny or Bob or Sue for a mission and then decide to go see someone else. No, here the core focus is on a very linear storyline, but how you tackle the missions is what makes Watch Dogs really stand out. Normally you just run into a building, guns blazing, and then you'd be challenged with either escaping the enemies or the cops afterwards, you know, stuff like that. And while it's true that the basic setup is more or less the same here, Aiden, who's the protagonist of the game, has the ability to hack into a nice assortment of objects scattered around the environment. So he can hack into things like, you know, security cameras, which allow you to see where enemies are placed on, well, the map or in the environment. You can also overload an enemy's cell phone, which causes it to explode or sort of act like a grenade. You can overload circuit breakers and much, much more. And this changes the way you approach each encounter, because while it's certainly true you could just go in, you know, guns blazing, it's so much more enjoyable taking your enemies out from the shadows using nothing but your hacking skills and a couple of smart distractions. There's also a fantastic cast of characters here. One of my favorite aspects is actually the supporting characters. I never really connected on a personal level with Aiden, but the rest of the cast was just phenomenal. Clara in particular is an extremely important and really interesting character once you really start to get to know the character, and I really like that. The side missions and optional content are all extremely fun to play. If you enjoy open world games, you're really going to enjoy this one. It's that simple. From blasting aliens in augmented reality minigames to the wide assortment of side missions like preventing people from being robbed to delivering cars to specific spots with little or no damage, to just about anything else you can think of, the action always remains fun and enjoyable. I also really loved how the online portion of the game is seamlessly connected to the single-player experience. Frequently you'll be updated about some sort of online event taking place, from races to decryption matches and more. And no matter which online mode you play, they're all a blast. And I also have to give specific mention to the digital trip minigames. I don't want to spoil them as there are only 4 of them, but these are some of the best experiences you will have in the entire game. They're wacky, but so awesome. There's also a simple level system that allows Aiden to become a better hacker, driver, and a more proficient killing machine. Everything you do in the game nets you experience, and all the various mini-games and side quests, including online sessions, will reward special cars, weapons, and skills. And I love how no matter what you do, you always feel like you're making some sort of progression. Watch Dogs is also a very impressive game to look at and to listen to, and I'm going to leave it at that, because I could go on and talk about, tons of stuff. The fact that the environments feature a lot of interactive and destructible sections, the fact that there's tons and tons of music that's really catchy, but let's just leave it at that. A couple of things that I thought were kind of so-so. One is the story itself. I find that it never really reaches its full potential. Aiden is seeking revenge for the death of his niece, but when his sister begs him to stop what he's doing because he's putting the rest of his family in jeopardy, he basically sort of is like, yeah, okay, whatever, you're right, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And I was never really satisfied with the explanation the game gave for why Aiden was so persistent, and I found that as a result it hurt his overall character. You might disagree, but that's just the way I feel on this. And I also thought that Aiden gets more interesting as the game goes on, but I sort of found like his epiphany was a little too late. I mean, honestly, here we have a person who is essentially killing hundreds, if not thousands of people. Some who, according to the game, might have, you know, like children. They might be just doing this for their sick parents or something like that. And he's doing all of this for one little girl. Is revenge truly worth killing hundreds of thousands of people? Being able to use your profiler or your cell phone to see what every single NPC does for a living, how much they make, and more, just like what I mentioned, it acts sort of like a moral compass of sorts. Like, are you really going to shoot an enemy if you know that they're doing this job just because they need the money for their sick mother? What about the guy who's expecting a newborn any day now? And I really loved that the game sort of made you see these facts before you pulled the trigger. The thing is, there was no real consequences for killing one NPC over another. And I really appreciated what Ubisoft tried to do here, but ultimately I felt it was just only half fulfilling. And while everything comes together beautifully in Watch Dogs, the game does suffer from a couple of issues. The first being the shopping system I found was completely pointless. During my entire time with the game, I never bought anything at the various stores because, well, I wasn't forced to, and I had no real need. I never ran out of ammo, I never had a need for a sports car. Everything I needed, the game gave to me, so why the hell was I going to spend money? And as with virtually all open world games, eventually the world will start to feel a bit repetitive. And while I love fast traveling to safe spots, the core breakdown is always the same. Even if it's not, it always feels the same. Drive somewhere, shoot something, hack something, drive somewhere else. And yeah, there is just a ton of mission variety, but that feeling that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, it starts to creep up as the game goes on. To conclude, Watch Dogs is a very fun game to play, but it didn't wow me as much as I thought it would. Perhaps it's because the hacking system is literally just a single button press. Maybe it's because there are just so many high quality and high profile open world games on the market nowadays, or maybe it's just I'm starting to tire of the genre. Whatever the case may be, I enjoyed my time with Watch Dogs, and I can easily recommend this to fans of the genre looking for something just a little bit different. But for me, I'd say this was a very good game, just not overly great. For the full written review, hit up projectcoe.com.
I better restock my weapons. Everyone's out to kill me now. Do